You're listening to the Balanced Educator Podcast, episode number 110. Welcome to the Balanced Educator. We're your hosts, Kailey
and Josiane from EduCalm. Our intention is to equip and empower you to feel more calm, balanced, and joyful in all aspects of your life.
Hello there and welcome. We are so happy to have you here with us today. In this episode, we've invited Amy Tung of the I Am Love Project onto the show to share a conversation on self-love, relationships, and letting go of what isn't working in our lives to make space for intentional change. We discuss mindfulness, self-love, self-reflection, living with intention, surrendering, and choosing again from a space of love. The I Am Love Project is a social enterprise helping Winnipeg nonprofits and charities reach their potential. They support local organizations and nonprofits through a variety of fundraising models that comprise supporting mental wellness, cultivated through the support of the community and backed up with heart. They want to instill into the members of their community the importance of giving back, and in doing so, they are inspiring and empowering other individuals. Before we get into this interview, we want to share this week's sponsor, which is Zero Waste Movement. Zero Waste Movement makes it easy for you to live a more sustainable lifestyle. They sell eco-friendly, sustainable products to help you reduce single-use plastic items in your life and replace them with beautifully and durably made alternatives. They have so many amazing products that I am obsessed with. I am loving their scrubber brush for doing dishes. It's natural, and once it's made of wood. So once I'm done with it and it has lived its life, instead of being stuck in a landfill forever, it is going to decompose. So I'm going to put it in my compost bin. Really excited about that. If you want to check out Zero Waste Movement and all of their wonderful eco-friendly products, go to zerowastemvmt.com, and if you decide to make an order, use the code EduCalm, that's EduCalme, to get 15% off your order. All right, now let's get into this awesome interview with Amy from the I Am Love Project. Hello there, Amy. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We are really excited to have you because you are doing just amazing things in our community, and we want to share your story with our listeners because it's really inspiring. So can you first introduce yourself and let us know, how did life lead you to where you are today?
That's an interesting question. So we started the I Am Love Project about a year and a half ago. And essentially, something that I learned throughout the process was to surrender and to come back to love and to choose again. So I was in a corporate job. I was working at H&M for about 4.5 years. And it was a great, great experience, but I didn't see longevity in terms of staying there, retiring and whatnot. And just being in the retail and the fashion industry, there's not much there, right? It's not purposeful. And so one day I decided to surrender that job. Yeah. Prior to that, I think over 35 years of hardship, I had to change my way of living and how I felt like I needed to control. So that's where the whole surrendering aspect comes in. Trading the old life, the old mindset for something that is unknown, because it was not working out whatsoever. So I went through a divorce, quit my job, relationships, intimate family relationships, friendships, again, no longer serving me. It was essentially the same lessons that were popping up, but I was unable to grasp why are they popping up? Like, where's the answer? I'm like, I'm doing my best. I'm trying to navigate this through the best way I can, but it pops up every single time. And I question myself, like I no longer wanted to do that, and I was frustrated. So surrender. And then through that, I looked for answers, spoke to therapists, counselors, psychologists, friends, family. And this all happened after I quit my job and seeking out for answers and for guidance. And through, I came across mindfulness and yoga popped up, not knowing what I was going to use with the practice and not knowing what the practice was about. But through like Facebook and social media, I see constantly people talking about self-love, self-care, codependency, intentional living. Like, what is all this about? So I actually kind of walked into like an unknown journey, an unknown path, not knowing what to expect, and really telling myself to be open-minded about everything moving forward, because I have known that anything that I was doing previously was not working out. So this is a must. So I went into yoga teacher training, the practice of like mindfulness, meditation, which I'm a huge fan of. Like, I must say, I haven't been practicing lots, but meditation is something that I do on a daily basis. And I find that it works in so many ways. It's hard to describe that feeling. So that through that, I started the I Am Love project.
That's amazing.
And yeah, it was actually a crazy journey. And like when people ask about it, it's so hard to kind of come back to that thought of how I started, because I can say it just happened kind of like magically. And really stepping to the unknown was something that I had trouble to do, because it's fear, right? Whenever there's fear, we stop. We don't want to know because we're so comfortable in our old ways, right? That 9-to-5 job, that pension, the 2 weeks of holidays, you get your annual review every single year, and you potentially will get that 10-cent raise. And then now when you start something new, I don't know if I'm going to get paid. I don't know if people are going to buy into the idea. I don't know. But then I choose again. I didn't care. I no longer care what people thought about me, what I needed to do, what my parents thought about me, and how I should be as an adult, or how I should be as a mom, as a partner, any of that. I just didn't care. And then when I found that I go back to the place of fear and where I care, and it hinders my decision-making, I tell myself, I'm going to choose again. Choose again from a place of love. And what does that look like? And so the decisions that I've been making the last year and a half in terms of personal and career-wise was based on this whole model of love.
That's beautiful.
I feel like I went off on a tangent, and I'm sorry if I did.
I think that your story is so relatable, because so many of us go through these, I like to think of it as like a pressure cooker moment in our life, where all of a sudden everything stacks up that isn't working in our life, and it forces us to it pushes on us, it pushes on us, it pushes on us, and then it forces us to just crack open and decide, this, like you said, this isn't working for me anymore. I need to change things. I need to make a change. And I think that's such a beautiful moment in our lives when we recognize that something, an identity that we're living, isn't serving us anymore. And it's time to look into discovering what a different version of ourselves could look like. How can we take those old stories that we were telling about ourselves and change it to a story that is what we want now? Because what we worked for all our lives into adulthood, it's like we always thought of ourselves living this specific life. And once we get there, sometimes that life isn't what we thought it was going to be. And it can be hard to shed those old layers and move into something new. So it sounds really exciting that you've had this personal experience that pushed you into this space where you not only wanted to make shifts for yourself, but also to share that through your I Am Love project so that other people have this resource and this intention that they can come to when they're in those phases of their life where change is necessary.
Right. And I think like for myself, that self-discovery comes from a dark place and bringing me back into the light. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I have the I Am Love project is to share that story and to share that insight where you don't need to spiral and hit rock bottom to come back up. Mm-hmm. The tools, resources, the support, the love, they're all in front of you. And you just need to kind of tune in, listen, and understand what we're trying to say. It was actually a very scary moment, and it was sad. I looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, what am I doing? Right? And then you're in tears and your knees are soft, and you find yourself, you get on your knees, and it's like, what are you living for?
Mm-hmm. What is that purpose? And I think that our purpose changes as we go through different phases of our life, and the old purpose gets to a point that it's not serving us anymore. And I love that you said that you had to surrender, because I have also experienced that lots of times in my life where I just get to a point where I'm like, okay, I can't figure it out. I know this doesn't feel right anymore. Bring me the answers. It's you just kind of surrender and decide, I'm going to stop deciding what my life should look like and allow life to show me, like, what do you have for me, life? What's next, life? Show me,
Yeah. And that's what made life so interesting. And every day I sit back and I'm so grateful. I look forward to, as much as hard, like there's obviously a lot of work that happens behind the scenes, but I look forward to opening these new doors every single day. It is essentially like magic. Mm-hmm. When you live with intention, you just see that domino, that ripple effect that happens on a daily basis, right? I know that if you say no to me today, that's not a definite no. Either we'll come back when we're both ready for this, or it means that I'm onto something better and mm-hmm. bigger. But someone is leading the way. And it's so great where I don't need to control. I don't need to think about it anymore. Like the answers are there. Just go with the signs and the synchronicities and go with the flow. Live with intention.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's something, I feel that mindset that of going with the flow and letting life show you what's next, and that thought process of, well, if this thing that I think I want doesn't work out, that isn't a failure. It's just that wasn't the right thing for me, and soon it's gonna become clear that there was actually something better. I think that really gets developed with a mindfulness practice. That's something that I see in common with lots of people that practice mindfulness and have a meditation practice or a yoga practice or whatever that looks like for them, that self-reflection piece. You start noticing the pattern of, if something doesn't work out, it's because there's something better waiting around the corner.
Yeah. And I absolutely 110% believe on that. I challenge anyone to do like 30 days of very intentional living and being very purposeful with your decision making and trying to surrender those thoughts and just go with the flow and take like a journal entry every single day. And at the end of the 30 days, like come back to it and see, have you accomplished those goals and your feelings? How do you feel after those 30 days? Mm-hmm. And compare it to the last 30 days of your life.
Yeah, I love that. So can you tell us more about the I Am Love project? What exactly is this project?
The I Am Love project was essentially my healing modality, where I think that when we inspire, when we empower each other, we create change within the community, not just for the people around us, but ultimately for yourself. So then our mandate is like practicing that self-love. Everyone is worthy of love, should be loved, feel love, regardless of age, sex, gender. And once you've cultivated that loving relationship with yourself, in turn, it benefits your partner, your family relationship, and everyone around you. And then through the empowerment is like our pop-up events, right? Now we have every month we host a monthly pop-up event, 40 minutes of an intentional wellness discussion with like a life coach, a therapist, mindset coach, etc., followed by a 40-minute sweat event. So it can be like a meditation, a yoga, a HIIT, or a Pilates class. And so that's kind of promotes that healthy mental health, and it allows you to come out and support and give back to the community while making new friends, and then ultimately recreate change. And then we have the bracelets that are made by volunteers, like kids, students between grades 2 to 6. They create that custom intention bracelet in honor of that charity. And then we sell online, different platforms, and then we honor the proceeds from the event as well as from the bracelets to the charity at the end of the month. And then we do outreach. We help organizations kind of set up initiatives if they want to give back. Some people don't know how to give back. Like, I want to give back. I'm a hairdresser. I want to give back. I want to do haircuts for people, like homeless people. How do I do that? And this is where we can come in and support that initiative. Yeah. So there's different avenues of what we essentially do, but ultimately it's that giving back and that love intention, loving unconditionally, when we can love someone without those expectations and have that practice, we can do the same in friendship, partnership, family, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like expectations is something that kind of kills us most of the time, right? And peace begins when expectations end.
I love that. Peace begins when expectations end. It's makes me think too of when we feel pain in the moment, it's because we're asking the moment to be different than what it is. We're not accepting what the moment is. We're asking it to be different. And it's that space between what the reality is and what we want reality to be in this moment that creates that pain. I love how you talked about when we recognize that we're wanting to kind of change others, that's a moment to go within and see where we can love ourselves more. That's definitely a practice that I've done in my classroom, with my students, with my family, with my partner, and that really came with my mindfulness practice, when I'm noticing that I'm wanting to change the other person because they're behaving in a way that I don't like, I recognize that you can't change other people. You're only in charge of yourself. So what is it that's making me judge them that way? And where do I in myself need to love myself more so that I can be more loving of others?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's where most of our problems kind of happen, that expectation and then wanting to change someone. And that happens, I see that a lot in like relationships. You're with this guy and you're like, well, he needs to do X, Y, and Z. That's how, like, a husband or a boyfriend, that's how you should behave. You need to pick me up. You need to do, make dinner and all that stuff. But who's to say that, right? Or even in the beginning of the relationship, when we meet someone, we do everything to fancy each other. But then 2 years down the road or a year down the road, You don't do that. That's not even part of who you are. We're both cheating on each other essentially. And that's why it doesn't work out in the end. But yet we still hold on to that.
Yeah. There's have you heard of Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach school? She has a really good podcast. You would like it. And anyone that's listening right now, you guys should check out Brooke Castillo's podcast. But she talks about love as it's not something you get. Love is not something you get. It's something you give. So emotions are things that we feel in our own body. No one else can make us feel an emotion. It's our thoughts about something that make us feel love. So, for example, if your partner takes out the garbage and you think in your mind, wow, this shows that they care about me, and oh, wow, they love me. I feel loved right now because they took out the garbage. It's not them loving you, it's you feeling love towards an action they took. Does that make sense?
Yeah, have you read the book, like the five love languages?
Oh, I haven't read the book, but I have I know what the languages are, and yeah, it's.
I guess that's essentially what it is, right? Like how everyone perceives love or receives love in a different form, right? So if someone was to do something for you, that's their form of love. You appreciate those actions, or it can be words of affirmation. Great book. You should.
Yeah. So I think that like I've read up on the different languages, but not the whole book. I'll definitely have to get the whole book and read it through. But just understanding how people choose to show love and how you perceive love is different. And so in order, like if you rethink love as it's not something I'm supposed to get, it's something I'm supposed to give, and I can like my partner is just an object that not an object, but my partner is a person that I've chosen to feel love for, and I get to choose to think thoughts that make me feel love for this person. Just a different way of looking at it. But
that makes complete sense, and that's why we give back, right? That chain of love, the symbolic meaning of that bracelet, it's continuous, no ending, no beginning. We give, right? That's love to me.
Yeah, so good. And if we can think of love too as you talk about self-love and then how that empowers and changes in the community when we're loving ourselves first, then we have so much more to give to those around us. But it all starts with loving yourself and going through the journey of practicing loving yourself, which can be really hard. Right?
Yes. And then I think just where do you start, right? I think that's the question that pops up for a lot of people. They don't know what to do. We talk about self-love, self-care, and some people perceive it as cheesy, right? I think there's that stigma around that self-love, self-care.
Can you tell me, how did you start your self-love journey?
How did I start my self-love journey? I think it was the day I decided to trade the old for the new. Something needed to happen. Changes need to happen. And it was making sense. So I practiced a few things. I would do certain things. I'm like, oh, wow, that's a difference. That's a different outcome than what I have originally experienced. So that kind of got my attention. I'm like, okay, so let me challenge this now. I'm going to do this a new way. And again, it was a different response. And it was liberating, and definitely opened a whole set of like new frames of how I perceive myself, the people around me, and the world in general.
That's great.
You just gotta do it, and you have to overcome that fear, that shame, that guilt, and all of those emotions, right? Because we've lived in those emotions for the longest time. Now we have to try to get to the opposite spectrum, right?
Yeah. Did you have any practices that you do, like when you recognize that you are having unloving thoughts towards yourself? What is something that you do to shift out of that and into a more loving space?
So then I would forgive myself for thinking about that. I would surrender that thought and throw it back into the universe. Then choose again and choose from a space of love. So what does that entail? Taking a step back and analyzing why you have that thought. And if I came from a place of love, what does this answer look like? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Always coming back to that. Like, am I saying this to this person from a space of love? Am I doing this from a space of love? Or is it ego and pride? That kind of allows me to come back to that space, the love space, and for me to be fully grounded. And that's how I kind of gauge like my decisions and how I live like day to day, being very, very intentional and recognizing these, what you put out. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love just that thought, like, is this coming from a space of love? And what would it look like if it were? You know, what decision would I make if I'm coming from love? How would I look at myself from a loving place? It just totally shifts the perspective and helps you to move through problems and into solutions.
Mm-hmm. Like even in the beginning, like our first pop-up, I was so worried about how many people are going to be there. Is it going to be like a full house? And I was setting like goals of how many people I want to be there. And then I took a step back. I'm like, okay, so why do I care about this? Is this the ego and the pride? Is who do I have to prove to, right? And then if it was coming from a space of love, then it goes back to why am I even doing this pop-up in the first place? Like, Amy, give yourself like some credit. This is your first pop-up, regardless of how many people show up. There's 10 people, then there's 10 people. 10 people can benefit and have they share that experience with you, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the difference from like the whole ego, shame, guilt versus from a loving space, and being very intentional with that.
Yeah, when you're coming from the ego and the worry mindset, you're looking at the lack. And when you're coming from the love, you're looking at, you know, each person is amazing. You know, if I have 10, if you're coming from the space of the ego and you have 10 people there, you're going, oh, I should have had 20. If you're coming from the space of love and you have 10 people there, you're going, wow, 10 people that I get to share this with. It's a quick shift. I love that.
Yeah. Well, because if you want to be Instagram savvy, you know, you got to create that great ambiance and whatnot. So that kind of like got me going. I'm like, no, that's not right. This is not even why we're doing this.
Mm-hmm. And I think teachers can think of this in the sense too. I think anyone in the business world can 100% relate to what you're talking about right now, because you're basing your success oftentimes on like, was this a successful event? Did as many people come as I wanted, etc. And how that can transfer into the classroom is looking at what is my intention for this? And just like you looked at for this pop-up, what is my intention? My intention is to share love. And so I can do that whether there's one person or 50 people. Whereas in the classroom, like, what is my intention for this lesson? Or what is my intention for this activity that I'm doing with my students? And basing the success on coming back to what is the point here, right? Like, why am I doing this? It helps you to feel empowered rather than judged by yourself.
Yeah, agree.
So Absolutely. I'd love to hear more about how you are using the I Am Love project in schools, because you work a lot with schools. Can you talk about that?
Okay. Well, So I volunteer my time in schools by offering kids yoga. And then I also volunteer my time to teach yoga at different charities for kids. And again, I think we're in alignment in that sense where we want to empower the kids. We want to show them that they are being loved and provide them with the tools and the resources where they are worthy and they are good enough, because we know that growing up, it's tough. It's completely different from how I was raised. Like, everyone has a phone now, and everyone has like an iPad. You go on like TikTok, you go on YouTube, and there's so much information, and there's more negativity than the positive aspect. Any ad, any game, anything, it targets like that young soul, their heart, saying that they're not worthy, right? Buy me, do this, kids, because then you'll feel worthy, right? You need to wear certain runners in order to be part of the group. So it's so important to empower them and help them build that resilience and that strength to overcome all this chaos around them every single day. It's 8 hours a day that they're in school. And as a parent, you don't know what's going on, right? And then this whole cyberbully, and they need the tools, they need the resources. It's much more than just knowing how to add 2 + 2 and how to write a paper and going to gym classes, kicking the ball around. We need to go back to the simple things in life, like the love, compassion, honesty, humility. What does that even look like? Who's teaching that, right? So that's where the whole mindfulness and the yoga practice and the mantra, and that's why it's I am love, knowing that there is support, friends, family, teachers, our charities that we partner ourselves with. There are tools and resources for any circumstances in life. So that's that. And then we have kids obviously volunteering their time once a month to help us create the monthly charity bracelets, which we sell, and then the proceeds go to the charity. So it's the beginning of it. It was more so like one-time thing. Okay, we'll go in, and then the kids will make it, and that's about it. But they got so interested and inspired by helping the community in a really, really big way, because whenever we go to the classrooms, we tell them, so from the proceeds of $20, if you were to go to Dollarama, how many items can you buy? So they would tell you 20 items. Okay, perfect, great. With the 20 items, how many different people can you give it to? And they would say 20. I'm like, yeah, exactly. So for every bracelet, you're supporting 20 people. So that can translate into you purchasing 20 apples and giving them to those living on the streets. It can be 20 packs of crayons for 20 kids, Christmas stockings, whatever that looks like, right? But that power of that dollar and that giving back is super inspiring and empowering to them. And then they're like, okay, so if I make 2 bracelets, that's 40 people that you can support. That's just one little human being supporting 40 others. And then it just accumulates and accumulates. And imagine like a classroom of like 20 people. How many people can you support? And ultimately it comes back to like those little acts of kindness and that power of community, that ripple effect that we create. You don't need to donate 20, 30, 40, 50 thousands of dollars. But if we all come together as a collective, that's substance, that's strong. That's creating this chain of love, and that's strengthening that sense of community already. Yeah.
I love that. I think it's so important to give students these types of opportunities, because I think it's just an innate human need to have purpose and to feel that you are contributing to your community. And I have luckily been able to witness students doing amazing things, giving back to the community, and that sense of ownership and that sense of like purpose is just so big. And it's so beautiful to have students learn at a young age that they matter, that what they are doing matters, and that they can make a difference in their community. So it's so great that you're doing this with students. It's amazing. And the bracelets are beautiful. They're super nice. Where can people buy a bracelet to be able to support the charities that you guys support?
Everything is online. We do sell at the Forks Trading Company, Oxygen Yoga Fitness Studio, and a few more other places. You just have to check on our website, and then there's like a list, and it's constantly changing just because we're trying to partner up with like different retailers too. Yeah,
that's awesome. So that's all in Winnipeg.
That's all in Winnipeg, yeah.
Awesome. And for our listeners that aren't in Winnipeg, they can buy it right from your website, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what's the website?
Oh, iamloveproject.ca.
Nice. Very easy to remember. iamloveproject.ca. And we'll have all of this, all these links in the show notes as well. For those of us that are feeling that pull from our heart, that there's something else out there for us, whatever that means, maybe it isn't a whole career change, but it's just we're feeling that we need to make a change. What can we think of, or what step can we take to start following our dreams and passions?
I think it's really important to recognize your worth. Yeah, it ultimately comes down to you are enough, and you no longer want to live in fear. It always, always, always trickles back to fear. And that's where you need to really, really assess hard and surrender that thought and say, no, let that go, choose again. Choose from a space of love then, where you unconditionally love yourself that much, where you're going to take that first step. Even having that thought of wanting to be an entrepreneur or doing something new, that's already success there. That's already a sign. You wouldn't get that sign unless you're supposed to tap into that and discover that potential. So again, it comes down to mindful, recognizing what do these mean? And it becomes a very interesting way of life, because now you're like thinking, oh, okay, so this person popped up in my life. Why? This opportunity popped up today for me. Why? Why are we doing this podcast today? There's a why. You might not know today, but be inspired and be like, excited to know maybe it will show up in 2 months or 6 months or a year from now, but you never know. But that reason, that why, will always come back, and be excited for that answer, right?
I love that.
It's like me going through the divorce. Why does it have to be me? Why 35 years of hardship? Why do I have to be in that darkness? But if this is what it takes to come into this space of intentional living, mindfulness, and that space of love and magic, then yes, I do. I would not choose again. I'm so happy to be in the space I'm in right now. And if that's what it takes, then it was a blessed journey. And I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad everything happened.
I love it. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you.
You can check out our show notes to get all the links for things we mentioned in this episode, like the 5 Love Languages book, as well as Amy's website and her social media handles. Go to www.educalm.com/TBE110. So that's Educalm, spelled EDUCALME.com/TBE, as in the Balanced Educator 110. Now, self-love and positive self-talk are things that many of us struggle with, and we actually had a lot of teachers that use our Educom Classroom Social Emotional Learning and Mindfulness program telling us that they had students in their classroom that were really struggling with negative self-talk. So that inspired us to create a whole unit in our Educom Classroom program to teach students how to talk nicely to themselves, how to love themselves, and to train them that self-love is good. It isn't selfish. It's good to support ourselves so that we can do the important work that we're meant to do in the world. So if that sounds exciting to you, if that feels like something that you would love to share with your students, definitely check out our online mindfulness program, Educom Classroom. You can start with the free trial and use our first unit of Educom Classroom, which is Introduction to Mindfulness, for free forever. It never expires. You'll also get a training video on how to start this program in your classroom and really useful emails that we'll send you to help you figure out how to teach mindfulness in the classroom, how to make it run smoothly. Everything is zero prep, so we support you, hold your hand along the way. You can check out our Educom Classroom program at educalm.com, and then you can choose to sign up for the free trial, or you can sign up so that you get access to that Educom Classroom positive self-talk unit to use with your students in your classroom. All right. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We appreciate you so much. Have a wonderful week.